So the beast from the east is expected to hit Britain again, so not one, not two, but three times, coming back for a third time next week, which will be leading into the 31st watch time between the 26th and the 31st. This is the third time the beast from the east is hitting the UK. More snow is predicted to return with forecast warning of a white Easter. While the current cold snap is expected to end soon, it will not be long, as the threat of more snow and below average temperatures is set to return for the long weekend. Some forecasters predict a blast of bitter air from the Arctic sweeping through Britain during the run-up to the holiday as high pressure builds north of the country. This could allow icy cold winds to plunge across the UK with the chance of snowfall for the third time after the second bout of snowfall, dubbed the mini beast from the east, came this weekend. This is another sign, another indication, another clue. They just keep on throwing these names, beast from the east, Satan 2, all these kind of things in our faces. The white Easter just reminds me of the rabbit hair in this reference, bunny rabbit, which is a reference to Easter. The white Easter kind of reference there. The rabbit that we appear to have in the clouds up here, you can see its two ears here, what could be taken as the face. Again, another reference to the rabbit. Just over here, ears, back legs, front legs, face, you see, pointing towards the Jewish kind of Star of David and the Statue of Liberty, a representation of New York with the tsunami wave moving towards it. There's a lot of things going on at the moment. A day before the 22nd of March, which is one of my watch days, they are having a tsunami exercise. This exercise is called Lantex 18. It's a rather lengthy document, extremely lengthy. I haven't gone through it all, nowhere near. It basically just kind of breaks down what they're going to be practicing, what their moves are going to be in terms of, responding to a tsunami alert, how they get the alert out. This is basically the table of context. They've got the purpose, the objectives, the type of exercise, what to do if something real occurs in the event while they're doing their practice. So actions in case of a real event. Just here, 3.3. Nice little reference there, isn't it? Particularly in association with maybe some of the days we're looking at, third lunar day, third lunar month, 18th of April, possibly. Don't know, that's just something that's just jumped out at me now. So that's the kind of rabbit reference, the white Easter reference to tsunami, day before 22nd of March. Again, don't know if anything's going to happen on 22nd of March or if it's going to be later on, maybe the 3rd of April, maybe the 18th of April, something else on the 31st of March. Those are the days I'm looking at. Yellowstone. News report, Yellowstone volcano eruption, earthquakes hit supervolcano as biggest geyser blows. Now don't let the headline fool you, Yellowstone hasn't erupted, it's just the biggest geyser at Yellowstone has erupted. So it's kind of leading some people to think that an eruption may be on the way. I am of the mind that it's possible, although we've had reports of earthquakes and geysers blowing at Yellowstone before, and we haven't had the event like a supervolcano erupting. We have references to volcanoes, though, in the iPet Goat video, which have been pointed out already, such as on the apple here. We have the volcano here, which looks like it's erupting, and the lava coming out at the bottom there. Again, in the iPet Goat video, in the background here, make it a little bit bigger. This one's a bit small. So in the background here, we have this conical shape with all this dark kind of smoke. And then this orangey glow in the background could be a reference to a nuclear reactor, or could be a reference to a volcano. And then we have another reference, which again could be a nuclear explosion, or it could be a volcano erupting, as it appears to be erupting above this kind of conical shape. Again, another reference, which I think could be a possible reference to, again, another possible underground nuclear explosion, or a volcano, in the sense that when a volcano erupts, it erupts upwards with a lot of ash, and then the pyroclastic flow outwards in a circle if it's erupted straight up, or if it was like Mount St. Helens, then it will erupt laterally to the side. So just gonna play that so you guys can see. kind of similar to the way the pyroclastic flows come out of the volcano after it's erupted, and obviously you got the heart with the fire reference, and fire and volcanoes, I don't need to clarify that they're closely associated with each other. Then I was thinking about yesterday when I made the video about this character and the letter that she sent to Oprah. In the background, you've got the picture, which is looks like a flower in this reference. You know, nice yellow flower, a little bit of red on top, blue background, kind of like a sky. But excuse me. But when you obviously flip it around, as they like to do, then you've got a volcano here, and what I didn't kind of think of was the color of it is yellow, and that could be a direct reference to Yellowstone erupting, lava coming out. Again, it's the same kind of image that you've got on the apple in the iPet Goat video. So there's a lot of references to it in the iPet Goat video. There's, you know, a couple of news reports out about this geyser erupting, and that possibly indicating that Yellowstone could erupt soon. People have been saying it's overdue for eruption, and considering it is one of the things that, you know, has been talked about, looked at, and observed before, it's not impossible for it to be one of the events that actually happens. How they'd set it off, I don't know, because apparently a nuclear detonation for a volcano is like dropping a pin in the ocean. But then again, you know, I don't really know all about those kind of things like pressure and, you know, gases and all that kind of stuff, and how they interact and how that might result in an explosion. But, you know, they've been up at Yellowstone doing experiment after experiment and you know, basically just telling us that they're monitoring Yellowstone, you know, but who knows what they're doing. They could be testing certain different things, and, you know, certain different ways that these things could be activated. That's pretty much it. Just having a bit of research into Yellowstone now, looking into, you know, how it develops, how often the volcano is supposedly expected to erupt, and it looks like it's kind of just under a million years, around like 700,000 years in between eruptions, if we can take the scientists at their word that there have been 3 eruptions in the past. Again, you know, we don't know. They say what they say, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, I'm just presenting it. That's what they say. 630,000 years ago is the last eruption. If we're looking at 2.1 million years ago, then 1.3, then 630,000, then, you know, we're right in the time frame for this caldera to erupt again. And just quickly to explain why, obviously, I think this is Yellowstone. Even though Yellowstone is a caldera, which means it's basically flat or dips into the ground, it's pretty difficult to convey a volcano as a caldera in an image and have it recognized by other people as a volcano. So an easier way is to put it into its more recognizable conical shape, and then in this reference, color it yellow, and you've got Yellowstone erupting. So again, we'll see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just really, you know, analyzing and making my own interpretations of these things. Whether they're right or wrong remains to be seen, but, you know, I don't think there's any harm in trying to figure out if there is anything to be seen here. So you guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and God bless.